The end of the year is coming up, and it's time to sit back and reflect on everything that has happened in 2023. This year has been remarkable because there's been a lot of clowns. So I made a list. I'm going to be counting down the top 10 clowns of the year. Number 10, Joe Biden. It's just expected that Joe Biden is part of this list. I'm not going to go into any details because I just made a video on him last week. If you want to find out about the corruption of this guy, go watch my video from last week. It will blow your mind. He's supposed to be the president, but he is a clown. Now, some people might argue that he should be higher on this list, and you have a point. My thoughts were that it was so obvious that he should be on this list that I just included him up front as number 10. Number 9, Nancy Pelosi. At the start of January, Nancy Pelosi lost her job as Speaker of the House. The Democrats lost control of Congress under her leadership, so she must have been doing something wrong. But what bothers me the most about Nancy Pelosi is the insider trading. Just so you know, Nancy Pelosi is one of the richest members of Congress. Pelosi's net worth in 2021 is estimated at $171.4 million. How did she make her money? It's almost all in stocks. She didn't run a business. She wasn't a corporate executive. She made her money by trading stocks. Nancy's husband, Paul Pelosi, trades the stock, while she makes decisions that affects the same companies. For example, they purchased $5 million in a graphics card company called NVIDIA. This was only weeks before Nancy Pelosi considered a bill to provide more than $50 billion in subsidies to domestic semiconductor manufacturers. Another example. They purchased Tesla stock at the same time that Nancy Pelosi was pushing for electric vehicles. This sounds like insider trading. Now, to be fair, Paul Pelosi claims that he did not speak to his wife about the trades he makes. But I'm sorry, this all seems a little too convenient. What makes it more suspicious is that Nancy Pelosi refused to support a bill that would ban members of Congress from doing insider trading. If she was not doing anything, why not pass the bill? In my opinion, banning insider trading in Congress should be passed right now. Congress members could simply invest in index funds instead of individual stocks. It would solve the whole problem. I don't know if you remember, but Martha Stewart went to prison for this. She was investigated for insider trading after she sold stock of a pharmaceutical company before they announced it failed to get approval for a drug. She made $45,000 and spent 5 months in prison. If I was Martha Stewart watching Nancy Pelosi get rich, I would be so angry. I would be furious. And I think the taxpayers should be as well. Nancy Pelosi is one of my clowns of the year. Number 8, Janet Yellen. Janet Yellen is the U.S. Secretary of the Treasury, and the U.S. banking system has collapsed under her leadership. Not only that, we've seen massive inflation, extreme waste of money in funding foreign wars, and an explosion in U.S. debt. But I falter the most for the collapse of the banking system. That is 100% her doing. If you remember, Silicon Valley Bank failed in March 2023. The official story is that as the U.S. raised rates due to inflation, that caused increased pressure on banks and Silicon Valley Bank failed. But that is not the whole story. Silicon Valley Bank was doing some shady things. They were loaning money mostly to risky tech startups, which is why their loan portfolio was so risky and why it could not handle the increased rates. Not only that, the Federal Reserve was warned about the bank's risky balance sheet starting in 2019. It sounds to me like this is a bank that should have failed. But in comes Janet Yellen, who controls FDIC insurance. She guaranteed 100% of the losses of Silicon Valley Bank with FDIC insurance. As you know, FDIC insurance is by law only supposed to cover $250,000 per depositor. All those additional losses are being covered by you, the taxpayer. This is the same thing that happened in the 2008 collapse. The banks engaged in risky behavior and got bailed out by the taxpayers. But at least in 2008, the bailout was passed by lawmakers. In this case, Janet Yellen single-handedly made the decision to screw all the taxpayers. I think this was a horrible decision in a string of bad decisions. It destabilized the economy, and for that reason, Janet Yellen is one of my clowns of the year. Number 7. Kevin McCarthy. It has been shocking to see Kevin McCarthy fail as Republican Speaker of the House. He took over after Nancy Pelosi stepped down, but was removed in October by his own party. There were a couple of main reasons for his removal. Number 1, he would not pass individual spending bills forcing Democrats to vote on specific issues. Instead, he was going along with the same massive omnibus spending proposal that has always been done. Also, he had not released any of the footage from the January 6 protests, and he had not made any progress in impeaching anyone from the Democrat administration. Now, the budget issues are extremely complicated, and I can understand if he was slow to make progress on that. But the other things were so easy to do. McCarthy's replacement, Mike Johnson, immediately began releasing video from January 6 and immediately began issuing subpoenas related to the impeachment. Two very simple things. If McCarthy had done that, he would still be Speaker today. But it gets worse. This month, Kevin McCarthy announced he is leaving Congress at the end of the month. He is vacating his position before his term ends. Why would he do that? It not only disenfranchises his voters, it leaves the Republican Party with one less vote until a special election can be held in his district to replace him. Altogether, Kevin McCarthy has been a huge disappointment, and he is one of my clowns of the year. Number 6, Bud Light. In April, Bud Light hired trans activist Dylan Mulvaney to promote Bud Light. This decision has to be considered the worst marketing decision in the history of the world. It has destroyed the company. Bud Light used to be the #1 beer in America. And that's just not the case anymore. There have been massive boycotts over the company's promoting of a contentious political issue, transgenderism. What is even more confusing is Bud Light's response. They have refused to apologize, and instead, they have doubled down on promoting Bud Light as the gay beer. If that's your marketing strategy, people who are not gay are not going to want to drink it. On top of that, company leadership keeps lying to their customers about what happened. Here's an interview with the CEO, Brandon Whitworth, talking about the controversy.
Number one, we're glad to have you here.
Yeah,
Many people in your position, Mr. Whitworth, would be running for the hills at this point. Because since April, you all have faced a lot of incoming. How and why did it go so off the rails? Because that certainly wasn't your intention when you did one can to one person.
It's been a challenging few weeks, and I think the conversation surrounding Bud Light has moved away from beer, and the conversation has become divisive.
Yeah, so what was your intention? Take us to the beginning. What was your intention? What were you all trying to do here? And you've done this before, these promotional campaigns.
Yeah, it was, just to be clear, it was a gift, and it was one can.
So he says, just to be clear, it was a gift. It was one can. That is a lie. That is an absolute lie. Last month, Steven Crowder broke the story when a whistleblower sent him a screenshot of a deposit made into Dylan Mulvaney's bank account from Bud Light for $185,000. That can was not a gift. That was a major marketing campaign. And a company does not pay that amount of money for promotions unless the entire company leadership is in on it. $185,000. So this CEO was in the midst of the worst marketing crisis, and instead of apologizing, his decision was to go on CBS Morning News and lie about it to the American people. What is also interesting is that this CEO formerly used to work for the CIA. That's strange. On his LinkedIn page, it says that he was an operations officer for the Counterterrorism Center, specializing in the recruitment and handling of human sources. What is this guy doing as the CEO of Bud Light? What is really ironic is that liberals are also angry at Bud Light's response because they did not stand more forcefully behind Dylan Mulvaney. Last summer, the Human Rights Campaign suspended Bud Light's ESG score because of the issue. So now no one likes Bud Light. What a disaster. Bud Light is on my list as one of the clowns of the year. Number 5, Judge Engoron. Donald Trump is currently facing a civil trial in New York overseen by someone named Judge Engoron. This is the case where Judge Engoron issued a court order that Trump was guilty before the trial even started, and the judge used the reasoning that Mar-a-Lago was only worth $18 million and claimed that Trump lied when he claimed it was worth a lot more. Anyone watching this trial can see that it is obviously a joke. Mar-a-Lago is obviously worth more than $18 million. This judge is clearly biased and is using his courtroom to attack someone he does not agree with politically. Again, this is a topic I'm not going to go into all the details because I made a whole video on how ridiculous this trial is. But more and more information keeps coming out that supports everything I've been saying this whole time. This judge is biased, and he's using his courtroom to interfere with the coming presidential election. For this reason, Judge Engoron is one of my clowns of the year. Number 4, Christopher Wray and Merrick Garland. This is a tie because these two people are working so closely together. They're like Tweedledee and Tweedledum. Together, they are destroying the justice system in America. They have weaponized it against the American people. It's so disgusting. America's legal system used to be an example for the world. We were the country where you could count on the right to a fair trial. But instead, we've been seeing decisions being made based on people's politics. For the first time, America has political prisoners. People are being arrested for the January 6th protests who weren't even there. They are arresting and prosecuting Donald Trump when evidence of Joe Biden's crimes goes completely ignored. And the FBI is working with social media companies to censor anyone who speaks out against them. But worst of all, the FBI is targeting Catholics. Just listen to this snippet of Christopher Wray being questioned on his treatment of Catholics.
The people talked to the witnesses who knew that person, and I think the product, the Richmond intelligence product, which cites that investigation, is actually pretty transparent about exactly what I just said.
No, I don't think so at all. In fact, the only reason we know this is a whistleblower has come forward and told the House under oath that the FBI went and interviewed priests and choir directors in the Richmond area. The House goes on to say that the FBI has repeatedly refused to disclose this information. The only reason we know it is because a whistleblower came forward with it. Just like the only reason we know about this memo is because a whistleblower came forward with it. How many other parishes around the country have priests or choir directors been approached? By the way, are Catholic choirs now, are they breeding grounds for domestic terrorism? Is this your latest theory? How many other parishes have FBI agents approached priests and choir directors to ask about parishioners?
Look, Senator, we do not and will not conduct investigations based on anybody's exercise of their constitutionally
You
protected
have done
religion.
so, and your memo explicitly asks for it. Your memo labels traditional Catholics as racially and ethnically motivated violent extremists in need of investigation. You have a list of churches, a list in the memo. You've repeatedly said we don't target churches, we don't list churches. They're listed in the memo. So how many other parishes have you gone to talk to choir directors, for heaven's sake?
As I've
Know the answer to that question.
No, I don't know the answer to that question.
How is this happening? America used to have freedom of religion, and now religious people are being attacked because of their faith. It's horrible, and Christopher Wray and Merrick Garland should be impeached immediately. They are both included in my clowns of the year. Number 3, Nashville, Tennessee. Now I know that a lot of people like Tennessee, but I have a big problem. In March, a trans person committed a school shooting in Nashville, Tennessee. This was a small Christian school, and 6 people were killed, 3 students and 3 staff. The shooter was killed in the attack. This tragic incident happened in March. It is now the end of the year, and Nashville police still refuses to release the manifesto or even explain what is in it. Last month, Steven Crowder was contacted by a whistleblower with photographs of at least some of the pages of the manifesto. He released it, and it is shocking. It contained hate against white people and suggests the killing was motivated by liberal political ideology. There is supposedly a videotape confession and more journals that have yet to be released. Why won't the police release the manifesto? For the public safety and preventing mass shootings, we need to understand what happened here. It seems like the police are putting the public at risk to protect a political agenda. I cannot explain how horrible this is. White Christian children were targeted to be killed at this school. We need to know what is in that manifesto. Nashville, Tennessee is one of my clowns of the year. Number 2, Lahaina, Hawaii. In August, the town of Lahaina in Hawaii burned down in one of the worst tragedies in U.S. history. One of the main reasons so many people died in the fire is that people in charge decided not to turn on the warning alarms. I made a video covering the details of the Lahaina fire, so I'm not going to cover it again here. But the problem keeps continuing. Fires continue to break out in towns in Hawaii, and whoever is handling the emergency response refuses to turn on the warning alarms. All the towns in Hawaii have them. Why not use them? Are they trying to kill people? It's so frustrating. It would be so easy to do, and it would save lives. Everyone involved in the failures at Lahaina is responsible for those deaths, and I'm including them in my clowns of the year. Are you ready? The number 1 clown of the year for 2023 is Fox News. In April, Fox News fired Tucker Carlson. At the time, Tucker was the highest rated show on Fox and one of the highest rated shows on cable TV. It is insane to me that Fox would kill their biggest show. No one knows for sure the exact reason why Tucker was fired, but the general speculation was that it was for political reasons. Tucker supported Donald Trump for president, and the head of Fox, Rupert Murdoch, wanted to do everything in his power to keep Donald Trump from being president. Ironically, Rupert Murdoch stepped down as Fox chairman 5 months later. Meanwhile, Tucker Carlson has been hugely successful hosting his own independent show on Twitter. He has been traveling the world, speaking with world leaders, and influencing policy on a global level. It turns out that firing Tucker Carlson made him even more successful than he was at Fox News. This was an incredibly bad business decision and makes Fox News my number 1 choice for Clown of the Year. So what do you think? Do you agree with my list? Did I miss anyone? Let me know in the comments down below. And if you like this video, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. If you want to support the channel, the best way is to sign up for a monthly membership at wolvesandfinance.com. For $6 a month, your support helps me keep putting out these videos. I'm Zach from Wolves and Finance. Thank you for watching.